Everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Our speaker today here is Dr. Christopher Leach. He's the CEO at Quantum Night, and he has a Doctor of Technology in Dark Web and Digital Forensics. This session deals with controlling data provenance for AI/ML in life sciences and beyond. And this is a particularly opportune moment to talk about cybersecurity, given the prevalence of high-tech cybercrime. So this session, we will explore how Quantum Night's groundbreaking technology secures digital assets, protects AI/ML models against malicious interference, including data poisoning and injection attacks. So it's a really current topic, I would think. And before we dive into that content, just a quick logistical info. We'll have the first 15 minutes for Doctor to go through his material, and then we'll keep the last 5 minutes for Q&A. So over to you, Dr. Christopher.
Thank you. Can you see my screen okay? Just want to make sure you can see everything. Okay, perfect. So like you heard, my name is Dr. Christopher Leach. I'm working with Quantum Night. Just a small correction, I am not the CEO of the company. I'm the cybersecurity information security specialist. So we're kind of going to go through some data provenance, some discussions through there, and we're just kind of walk through what data provenance is, how Quantum Night can be able to assist in those areas. So, okay. All right, so move through my slides just a bit. Before we begin, like I said, my name is Dr. Christopher Leach. My expertise lies in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data security. From a regulatory compliance, I've got over 20 years of industry experience of doing this. Worked on multiple different assets in the biopharma space and the pharma space as a whole. Over the years, I've worked on projects that are complex with those pieces and have been fortunate enough to work with Quantum Night and the organization that I represent. We have developed a groundbreaking solution in AI/ML workflows, and our patented HyperKey technology safeguard digital assets. And those digital assets and protects AI models from the threats like data poisoning, injection, as you heard. This technology provides the unmatched control and security for the digital frameworks and the digital ecosystems that are out there, enabling organizations to trust those AI-driven technologies. And so I'd just like to give you that little background and history piece. And thank you for your attention, and we'll just kind of move through my slides. I'm not going to kill you by a whole lot of slide information. It's just going to be some of those high levels, and I'll kind of talk through the material myself, and then we'll just kind of go into some of those little pieces. Cool? All right, so let's get started on the journey. So just to let you know, today we'll just kind of go through some data provenance and its critical role in AI/ML, and particularly in the life sciences element. As just a historical purpose, data provenance refers to the process of tracking the origin, the transformation, and the history of a data or data sources. To ensure that the trust and the reproducibility and the ethical practices by identifying how that data is collected, how the data is modified, as well as its use. This stems a lot from what the CFR parts come through as Alcoa and Alcoa Plus. My dissertation is actually on data injection as well as AI modeling for cloud initiatives. So there's a lot of pieces of how we can get AI and how we can use Alcoa to be able to work those two. In AI and ML, the data provenance is foundational because of the quality and the integrity of the data directly impacted by that model performance and its reliability. Specifically in life sciences, this becomes even more crucial. Patient harm, patient care, patient viability, and the strengthening of that patient data is, for instance, the regulatory compliances of what FDA and the EMA guidelines come through. Mandates that every piece of data, no matter how big, no matter how small, is used in processes like drug discovery or clinical trials. It has that traceability and that verifiability of that data piece. Provenance helps us ensure data patient safety, builds that trust in those AI-powered solutions like genomic diagnostics and personalization medicine. That's personal to the individual person or groups of people that may be working through. As we go through this presentation, I'll highlight some of those challenges, some best practices that we are seeing, and new things that are coming out of relevance. The DeepSeek has AI model is coming out, and there's a lot of buzz coming out about that. And so I won't go into that as there are new findings coming through for there. We'll kind of brush over those. Data provenance in both life sciences and other industries, as well as how Quantum Night can be able to assist in that. So now let's explore some of those key challenges that I dissociated with and associate data provenance with those AI and ML workflows. First, I'd like to discuss one of those quality framings, which is data silos and fragmentation. Working in silos is a common issue. And imagine for that, as you would to say, is pharmaceutical company conducting research across multiple departments, using each different systems and formats, and they want to integrate all of that data into a unified pipeline. Building that pipeline can be highly complex and delaying critical AI deployments. So that becomes a first area of our challenge. Second is data quality and the metadata that's surrounded by that quality of data and how it significantly affects the reliability of those AI models. The first rule in every security and data element is the data is king, and we always must work and we always must protect the data. Regardless of the standing that you wish to take, that data is always king. So missing or incomplete metadata can lead to incorrect conclusions, and inconclusive results become a biased or relational of bias for the prediction of that model. So we must be very careful with how we deal with that. Third, and one of the most difficult part is regulatory complexity or compliance, as it adds that difficult layer to that entire data provenance. For example, compliance with GDPR and HIPAA requires organizations to meticulously track and protect the sensitivity of the data. No compliance can lead to hefty fines and reputational challenges. That becomes an issue. Finally, scalability is a major concern. As data sets grow in size and complexity, managing provenance becomes increasingly challenging. Organizations must ensure that provenance systems can handle dynamic, large-scale AI workloads efficiently. Some solutions to discuss. Despite those challenges, there are effective solutions and best practices to address data provenance concerns. First, and one of the most bigger pieces, is organizations can look to adopt a data provenance frameworks, such as the FAIR practice, which emphasizes making data more findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And I take a big model stab at reusable because that becomes your model and it grows forward. Standards like the W3C and PROP and provide that structured approach to documenting provenance. It really helps with your documentation for auditability. Second is automation and tooling can simply simplify that provenance tracing. Tools like Apache Atlas or AWS's Glue in the cloud automatically generate lineage data, reducing the actual manual effort that's there. Third is the metadata management, which is essential. Metadata management is one of the critical elements for that piece. By embedding detailed metadata with every data set, organizations can ensure the transparency and reproducibility of that aspect complete. Fourth is what we have now is blockchain technology, offers the innovative way to create immutable records for provenance, preventing tampering and ensuring the integrity of the data. As data integrity models begin to evolve with us, those are the functions. Finally, robust governance frameworks are critical. Clear policies and accountability measures help align data management practices and regulatory requirements for the organization's goal. So how does this apply to life sciences? So let's focus on how they really focus down to life sciences. In drug discovery, provenance plays a vital role in ensuring that AI-driven molecular screening can process the accuracy and the reproducibility of that. By tracing data lineage, researchers can identify correctly the errors that are coming about and working through them. In clinical trials, transparent data provenance is indispensable for meeting regulatory requirements to ensure that every data point used in trial has a documented history, enabling the reliability audits and the submissions that go into your submissions for those clinical trials. In genomics, provenance builds trust in the AI model algorithms used for diagnosing genetic disorders or guiding precision medicine in a specific group site. Knowing the exact origin and transformation of the genomic data ensures that the AI generated traits are insights, both accurate and actionable. So what can this do beyond life sciences? Data provenance has the transformative application into other industries. Beyond just that, and QK has really worked towards being able to understand the reliability of how your data can come through with the data integrity. In finance, for example, data provenance helps organizations ensure compliance with anti-money laundering regulations and SOX compliances, reporting fraud elements, and providing a clear trail of how that data is processed. That data audit, that metadata is what's functional. In the manufacturing side, Provenance ensures that quality control throughout the entire supply chain. AI models can trace that origin of the data materials from its birth through the entire life cycle, optimizing those production processes with absolute confidence. In the energy sector, data provenance enhances forecasting for renewable energy opportunities, as well as the accuracy and trustworthy of those data sets for predicting energy usage patterns and improving the overall efficiency. Enabling those trends comes forward. As data provenance begins to evolve, there are several emerging trends that are shaping for the future. In new integrations with pipelines becomes more and more seamless. The seamless of that data provenance becomes ubiquitously blended. Modern data engineering tools like Quantum Night's Clear actually runs that provenance through the ETL workflows, ensuring that provenance is captured at every stage of the data transformation layer. In the second section, AI provenance management is a game changer. Knowing who and where those data are going and what you're doing with them develops those machine learning models that can automatically detect anomalies, gaps, or drifts in the provenance records, streamlining quality assurance processes. Finally, the interdisciplinary studies and collaboration is key. Teams of data scientists, domain experts, machine learning experts, and regulatory compliance and professionals are working together to build out technical, ethical, and compliance challenges as they move forward, challenging those associated exceptions through provenance in complex environments. So where could we help and what could we do with data and data provenance from Quantum Night is a no lesser of what we can help with. That data piece and elements run through its entirety. So I will stop and leave here and take that back to you guys for questions.
This is a little bit a different question, Dr. Leach.
Sure.
I was talking to Andy from Quantum Night, and that's how my conversation started. Was we have a lot of PLCs in manufacturing, as you know, and one of your technologies is it lets us encrypt irrespective of the PLC technology that they're using, legacy, modern PLCs. We can plug in one of your cryptographic based technologies to encrypt without affecting the current PLCs, right? Meaning without re-engineering them or changing the communication protocol. Sure. Can you just throw some light on it if you don't mind, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the retrospective, adding two additional line sets of code between its point of entry and its entry point and backwards and forwards, allowing the data provenance between those two entry points can fully encrypt the entirety of that stack with very low latency and no show force error, right? What we have is the ability to basically state that the element of surprise is twisting all the data elements from one area to another, packaging it all together in a full twist, and sending that package over in a full encrypted. And it has the layer of access control that you can have for the individual piece that goes from one end to the other without adding an additional latency to that model. So running through those latency models, you can build out an entire architecture across that from point to end, from wherever you need to, even in full streaming model, is ensure that is a fully encrypted system set.
And how difficult is it from a hardware and software point of view, the implementation I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's not actually that difficult in any way. There are very small amounts that need to be going into the data elements, right? So for us, there's an additional 2 lines of code to your overall stack that are running now, can be able to have the interface between the intersections between the actual hosted end to the endpoint and backwards to forward. So there's a very low entry to get into it and a very small amount of knowledge that is required for you to build into this architecture. So it's not required for you to have to re-engineer existing infrastructure. Use the existing infrastructure that you have, and we build in different elements to it with an encryption base.
And really, it doesn't matter what PLCs we use or what communication protocols we use, correct?
That's correct. Absolutely, 100%. There is no limitations to it. Within our space of biosciences and medical devices, what we'd like to do is be able to take the data that allows for no entry of attackers or RAG attackers to be able to come in and sniff out your network without having to add additional hardware layers to that complexity. You're adding software elements to it that work faster and in time.
Got it. Thank you. I have a question, Dr. Leach, is from the audience. How do current RAG systems treat the retrieval records? Are they generally treating the records as immutable or mutable?
It just depends on its use case. And I see the question up there. Thank you, Frank. It just depends on the use case for retrievable records. You can have records retention and records recovery. And for that element, you can actually pull and give individual. And so individual records can be given the individual treatment at an access control layer. And what I mean by that is if I was to give you access to the record but deny everyone else, that mutable and immutable record is only given. But then later I can change that record retention and change that record access control and share that with a different person and remove your actual rights to that permission.
Yeah. Because RAG, what it really does is, it helps us, right? When we are prompting, we want to supply the inference information before, along with our prompt. So it really depends on how the structure is set up, right? Because data has to be submitted. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Anybody else? Any further questions for Dr. Leach? This is you are at a very impressive junction, right? Because one is cybersecurity, right? Other one is your data provenance. Because I worked on track and trace, where the drug lineage has to be, tracked right from manufacturers all the way to hospitals and the consumers. So I mean, people initially they didn't use blockchain, but then blockchain came along. That's a good fit. I think some of them are talking about it. I don't think every software company has implemented blockchain, but and with AI now in the mix, I mean, this is ripe, right? I mean, for data is everything. Data is the new oil, and we need to protect it. In case of our regulated environments, we need to show how it was created, where it was created, who had access to it.
Cradle to grave. Cradle to grave on the data provenance side, right? So if I'm creating, and I'll just use an example, I'm creating an aspirin, right? And I have the creation of that entire lot model from that piece. We need to be able to show the entire record load from as you said, as I have said, cradle to grave, and be able to prove within absolutism that there has been no data entry from change from the Alcoa modelization from data integrity. That entire stream of data has no choice but to follow new regulatory environments. With the appointment of a chief artificial intelligence officer at the federal level is now starting to make out new areas of contention that we're going to have to deal with new pieces of regulation that we still don't even have an understanding of what they're going to ask those questions for. So how do we build models around that architecture? How do we build models around data integrity that prove without a burden of doubt that you can actually viably say without any integrity that data and that metadata has not been altered in any way, shape, or form? Our technology allows you to say that without question, absolutely, it's no longer being changed.
Dr. Leach, I've been involved for the last 5 to 6 years in many data integrity audits. I use the Alcoa Plus principles. I've written about it, right? But in my opinion, right, at least in manufacturing, drug manufacturing, it is not there. Drug manufacturing, generally speaking, it's not there.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see we're going to have to move to a change as more and more organizations that I'm seeing and hearing from the space of life sciences and safety medical devices are making changes to actually move towards an architecture in cloud and in private cloud. That data reliability is what this is coming through. Keeping that CIA triad trust all the way through that modelization is what's lacking, and we have to be able to do better at it.
Yep. With that, we are right on the money, Dr. Leach. I really appreciate your time. I really, really appreciate
it.
And thank you so much.
There's one more question before we conclude.
Yeah, let's ask.
Sure.
Yep. Where is it?
In the Q&A.
Q&A? Okay. Let me close this pop-up. Yep, I got it. Dr. Leach, last question. Given the number of new applications being built on foundational models, how would you manage the lineage of an application? How would you manage a lineage of an application interaction that uses one of those and deal with, for instance, different replies with the exact same question data set. I think they're asking about hallucination. That's slightly different, I think, but you can answer that.
Yeah, I'll do my best on that one. How to manage the lineage of that application's interaction. And dealing from that aspect is you got to have data custody and data transfer and manage data sets are going to be key. Managing those correct data sets, making sure that you understand where those data sets are and the custodian of those data, following that trace model is something that is absolutely, a foundation, as you said, a foundational model that's required. Knowing where that data is in its lineage piece and from the cradle to the grave, applications interaction, being able to have good auditability and traceability of those data records. And again, our technology can assist you with that as well, building out that trust model. So I hope that kind of goes into your questions a little off topic, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think we actually, I'm having this conversation again with IBM right now. We're their partner.
Sure.
They have a nice framework called watsonx.gov.
Watson's.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things that they have built very nicely, the guardrails and making sure that we can catch the hallucinations. So we are making that LLMs continuously validatable. So what we have to do is, we have to introduce at some point in time or at discrete points a known use case. We already know what the output was. Let's say that was acceptable last week, for example. Now I introduce it again and see, without assuming that nothing has changed in between, right? The LLMs have not changed. It's controlled. So what kind of an output am I getting? Is it within our margin of error? So that's what we call it, continuous validation. We're introducing that, working with IBM for continuous validation LLMs. Yeah. Thank you so much again. Take care. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.